Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basili. President-elect Trump vowing a lot of changes when he takes office in less than a month, including supporting our nation's cops. Is the dangerous and deadly Democrat Defund the Police movement finally dead? And will 2025 bring a resurgence of interest and support for law enforcement after these difficult years for our nation's cops? For more on our Thin Blue Line segment this week, I am joined by former police chief of Detroit, Michigan, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Portland, Maine, James Craig. Also with us is the founder and the president of Citizens Behind the Badge, Craig Floyd. Mr. Floyd, first of all, gentlemen, good to see you both. Merry Christmas to you. Mr. Floyd, I want to start with you because you wrote a very interesting piece on this topic in the Daily Signal. You believe that defund is finally DOA. Tell us why.
Well, let's not call it dead. Let's say it's on life support, Tom. It's been a disaster. It started in 2020. Cities and towns across this country cut hundreds of millions of dollars from their police budgets. Crime was rampant. We hadn't seen violent crime at this rate since the early 1990s. And we lost about 37,000 talented and experienced police officers. That was the damage that was done. So last month, the voters in this nation said enough is enough. We're sick and tired of politicians that are coddling criminals instead of supporting our police. We saw Donald Trump soundly defeat Kamala Harris, who was an early and strong supporter of the Defund the Police movement. We saw 12 of the 25 George Soros connected soft on crime prosecutors in this country either defeated or recalled last month. And in California, one of the most liberal states in the nation, they passed overwhelmingly Proposition 36, which toughened penalties for drug and theft crimes. This is unheard of in a liberal country, a liberal state like California. And on top of that, a lot of the states and localities that had cut police funding are now restoring funds, thankfully. And the pendulum is starting to swing in the right direction when it comes to police and crime in this country.
Chief, I want to get your take on that. The incoming president does have a track record of supporting police. He's very, very vocal about it. What do you think about Craig's point that we are seeing the pendulum swing back, and could that have an impact on recruitment?
Well, I got to tell you, and first of all, Tom, thanks for having me on your show. I'm going to go into another direction with this conversation. I agree that President Trump incoming, that's going to certainly make a difference in setting the tone nationally for our support for police officers. But here's the real challenge. Everything starts at the local level. The local level, we're talking about local mayors, local police chiefs who are, in most cases, are wed to the mayors. So if that doesn't change, look at what's going on in Chicago. It's appalling. That mayor is clueless. But this defund the movement was doomed for failure right from the beginning. Because first and foremost, the few on the very far left were the ones pushing this ridiculous movement. It didn't work. But what was missed in this whole thing, and the voters spoke out resounding by saying, look, that's not what we want. We want safe cities. And what many of these mayors and police chiefs in some instances have forgotten, the number one priority of a mayor is to do what? Protect his citizens. And that didn't happen. You look at New York, the mayor is a police officer. Now, while he's doing a 360 right now, surprisingly, when we kind of understand why, but New York, Chicago has made the loudest noise, especially black Chicagoans, who says, wait a minute, you let illegal criminals come in, you support them, but you do nothing for us. So guess what? We're going to turn Chicago red. Fortunately, here in Detroit, when I was police chief and we saw what happened in many cities across our country in 2020, Detroit didn't burn. There was a reason for it. Number one, the mayor supported me as a police chief. The mayor understood he wanted a safe city, and we weren't going to bow down like LA's, the Philadelphia's, the New York's. But conversely, we supported the people who matter, U.S. citizens who live and pay taxes in our country.
And that's why I want to get to this issue of immigration and talking about the Trump policy which is going to be, at least at a minimum, locating and deporting nearly 1 million criminal aliens that are in these cities. Craig, this is an opportunity for, I think that's a motivating factor for cops who want to get these guys off the street. But you also have mayors who are saying, no, we're not going to allow our police officers to cooperate with the federal government. We're going to create this sort of standoff. It's kind of it could be a positive, but it could certainly be a cudgel against our police officers, this policy. Your thoughts on that?
Well, illegal immigration, we've seen, is a huge problem in cities and towns across this nation. And in fact, it ties directly into the Defund the Police movement. What we're having to do is reallocate funds from law enforcement and public safety and turn it over to housing and feeding the illegal migrants that are now flooding cities and towns across this country. And we've seen rampant crime being committed by these illegal aliens. We saw it in stark nature in New York City recently, where a woman was set on fire on a subway train by an illegal immigrant who had been deported once and had found his way back into the United States and set this woman on fire. She was asleep. It's one of the most heinous, horrible crimes I think this nation has ever seen.
I need to get the chief to respond to this, because this is going to be, to your point about local support, cops should be responding to a federal effort to deport criminal aliens.
Absolutely. Let's face it. Again, I said the local level. Look at what's going on in New York. Let's go back to New York for a moment. You got a governor who makes statements about, I've deployed National Guard to create a safe subway system, but yet totally misses the mark in talking about the crimes that are still being committed on the subways, in a large part by those who are here illegally and who are criminals. That's the issue. So we can talk about, deporting, and I like where President Trump is going. We need to get the criminals out of our country. It's a top priority. But these sanctuary cities are not going to work. And thank God here in Detroit, they're not identified as a sanctuary city.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to be talking about this a lot more because, like I said, that potential for a standoff between federal law enforcement, the cops, and their mayors and governors is going to be a real thing, I think, come 2025. But we'll have you back, and our cops certainly need officials that have their back, like former president, or like current President Trump. All right, we'll have you back in the new year. Chief James Craig and Craig Floyd from Citizens Behind the Badge. Appreciate you both, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.